common mistakes are with internal APIs to think that if you just create any kind of APIs, it's okay. Just create APIs and let your individual teams create whatever APIs they want, and you'll register them in a repository or API management, and then everybody will find them and use them. No, you need much more governance, and particularly focused on the taxonomy of different kinds of APIs. And the most important APIs that you'll create internally are business APIs, your business transactions and business data, not something that just is integrating to a legacy application, but it's encapsulating and it's your business that is available through the APIs, and it hides any systems or maybe multiple systems that are necessary to do one business transaction. With open web APIs, I think the biggest mistake is to think that there is some kind of API magic. It's like, well, people are doing things with APIs. We should do something with an API, particularly if it comes to thinking that you will charge for API access, which relates to another kind of mistake, which is to think of monetizing APIs only as charging people to use them. The right question to ask is, how do we make money with open web APIs? And that involves many ways of indirect making money from APIs versus necessarily charging people to use APIs. So what that gets down to is you basically have to have just good product management 101, basic business school product management skills to understand what is your product that you happen to be delivering through the API channel. Who wants it? How would they use it? What value are they going to get from it? Will you receive value as the provider in an indirect way or a direct way? B2B APIs, the biggest mistake is not paying enough attention to them. As I talk to people who use API management solutions, they use them mostly for internal APIs, but almost as much for B2B APIs. Not so much for open web APIs. There aren't as many organizations doing open web APIs. And for good reason. It takes some more to figure out. How do we find a developer community that wants to integrate us? Some businesses, it's very clear. Most businesses, not really. But B2B, we've got customers, we've got suppliers, we've got partners. Lots of opportunity for process integration and other ways of integrating there. Product APIs are a bit hard to understand sometimes, and so it takes more conversation about them. But I think the reason why you need to have them as a part of your API strategy is because they offer an interesting and different perspective to think about what APIs you might have at all and how people might integrate and build ecosystems around your products. So the mistake with product APIs would be not having them as part of your business portfolio. All of this really gets wrapped with what I would call API business strategy, which is the mistake is to think of APIs as a technical thing, but really the more important, more impactful way to think of them is as a business strategy investment. They can change how you go to market. You can be reaching new customers indirectly because your business capabilities are ready. You make them available within an ecosystem, and you could be getting money from whole new directions, from whole new groups of customers, or whole new channels that you weren't before. But you don't get there unless you're thinking about API business strategy. API business strategy as an element of it, so that's very critical. Governance, many of the developer conversations these days tend to think of governance as a bad thing. And governance is critical because what you must do is develop coherent portfolios of APIs, not just any old APIs. It has to be a lightweight governance that intersects well with your development processes, and it's not a heavy top-down, let the enterprise architects control everything kind of governance, not that. But it needs to be a good, strong bit of governance. A mistake would be would be pursuing an API management solution decision without thinking more broadly about your strategy. So often people may think, well, we need mobile apps. We're going to have APIs for those. Let's get an API management solution to do it. But they're not thinking about their broader API business strategy. Or they're thinking only about internal APIs versus thinking about their broader strategy needs. There are a number of quite diverse API management solutions in the market, and they serve different kinds of needs in different ways. So you need to think more broadly about your strategy first, then you can understand what API management solution to get. Oh, and also be careful that there are some things that call themselves API management, but really aren't. They might be just a little gateway or an integration solution, but they don't really help you focus on the core of API management is managing your relationships between your API users and you as an API provider. And then maybe one other thing I would highlight is it is easy to get hung up with talking about APIs as only being a provider of APIs. It's just as important that your API strategy include you as an organization as a consumer of APIs. And you may be able to, for example, pull together not only your own legacy systems or even new systems, but things that you can get from other providers that you can integrate to make your services and your products stronger, and maybe even offer APIs just on top of those. By using APIs from other organizations in the market, you are also adding to value to your organization via your API strategy.